nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd remain standing for a moment, Pastor Bossio would give our invocation.
There's a favorite scripture of mine in Psalm 145, and it says, "One generation shall declare your works to another." And I see this meeting as one of those times where good things are being passed on. So let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time together, and thank you for these leaders and citizens and servants who are gathered here. Bless them and speak life into our hearts as we seek to serve one another. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Ask for the clerk to take our roll, please.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco is asked to be excused. Councilman DiGiulio.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke.
Here.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Here.
Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Matakas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Ask for a motion to put tonight's agenda before the council.
Motion. Support, Mayor.
Councilman Rourke is moved. Councilman DiGiulio is supported. Any questions, additions, changes?
I want to separate claims and accounts there, Mayor.
Without objection, claims and accounts will be a separate item in the, from the consent agenda. I do have some changes too. I'd like to move Resolution 1, defeasance and redemption of the city's 2009 A and B bonds, and make it item A2, and move the appointment of Justin Ford to item A3. We have our bond investment advisors here tonight, and also our attorneys, which we're grateful for their advice and help. We'd just like to minimize their time with us tonight, which minimizes our cost for their services. So we would do that, and then talk to our engineers, and item resolution 3, they'd like us to hold that until they get some more information from the county. So without objection, we will remove that from tonight's agenda. There are no other questions or decisions. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. Ask for a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, please.
Motion.
Councilman Templin has moved. Councilwoman Gavarrecki has supported. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now my pleasure to ask the Superintendent of Schools for MelNAP School District to come forward and discuss the Cardinal Showcase. I saw all those AP jackets around you. I thought maybe you'd recruited some other students there.
I guess they probably have a class that they're here for, right?
I think you're right.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. To segue from what the blessing of the pastor, you know, we're here to share good things with you. So I have two of our students, Emma Kruga, who actually is a citizen of Northern Allen Park. She lives in Northern Allen Park. And Remy Dalton is here to share with you as well. I'm Dr. Kimberly Soranno. As the mayor said, I'm the superintendent of Melvindale, Northern Allen Park. You saw me here a couple of months ago about Rogers. And so we're here to share with you something that's new for us. It's called the Cardinal Showcase. We have a lot of wonderful programs going on, as you do in Allen Park as well, for your high school, K high school students. And we're going to showcase some of the things that are happening in Melvindale, Northern Allen Park from the student standpoint. And so we've asked them to do some presentations. We have a lot of robotics presentations going on. I had shared with the mayor and the council members that we met with the other night that we just won it's called a Marshall Plan grant, and for $659,000, that's going to bring a program with Mercy, I can't forget this university, Mercy U of D, that we're going to have professors working with our teachers in technology and robotics, and training our teachers to teach our students, and our students then will get college credit for those courses. So we're real excited about that. We've had that going on, but we've never had this partnership happening. So there were 9 school districts in the state, and we had the pleasure of being one of them and had won that grant. So I'm going to have the 2 girls, because I would love for our students to share what we're going to do at the Cardinal Showcase. It's March 27th, and it's going to run for a couple of hours. We're going to have food, so we invite you to come. We'd like the community members to come and see what we're offering in Melvindale, Northern Allen Park to our students. Go ahead.
Hi guys, my name is Emma. The Cardinal Showcase, as Dr. Soranno said, is going to be March 27th from 6 to 8. We really just want to let the community know what we're doing in our school district. I'm a graduating senior this year, and I've been involved in many activities at Melvindale. And I regret that I'm graduating because, as she said, that grant is awesome, and there are so many things that are evolving in our school that I wish I could be a part of. So just as a brief overview, we have a large variety of diversity in our schools. We are going to have a cultural showcase, where we're going to have music, food, and just kind of sections of different cultures in our school. We're also going to introduce STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. We have done a lot of things with our school with building and robotics. We have Lego, ROVs, and then also we are going to have stand with the English Language Arts Social Studies and ELL, the English Language Learner Program, just so you can kind of get an overview of what they're doing and go to classes as well.
Hi, I'm Remy. I'm a senior at Melvindale High School as well. And kind of expand on what she said, we'll also have fine arts there at the Cardinal Showcase. Our band will be performing, I believe, middle and high school. We will have student artwork put up and presented throughout the plays. Theater, our drama club will be doing things as well as our clubs and athletics. So all of our sports teams will be there, telling exactly what they do, as well as our student services information centers, which is just like people, our counselors and all that saying.
Just kind of what we do, we have a lot of help with our career services, going to college, with help with applying for applications, financial aid. So it's March 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Melvindale High School on Oakwood Boulevard. What's the land process? But if you want to stop by and see what we're doing, please feel free to check it out.
It'll be K through 12. So we're real excited about it. I think we're going to have some great shows and some great presentations. You'll see we've had, internationally, we've won some awards for robotics, and those robots will be there. The students will be presenting them. And Emma's our salutatorian this year, so I know she's going to be involved as well, and so is Remy. So we're excited, and we'd love to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you. For those in the audience and those watching us should realize when they say MelNAP, it's Melvindale Northern Allen Park Schools, and we have, I would say, close to 1,000 families in Northern Allen Park who have children that would be attending the MelNAP schools. So there's a substantial participation by Allen Park students in the programs at MelNAP, and sometimes people tend to forget that Allen Park's made up of 3 public school districts, Northern MelNAP being the one on the north, and then on the south we have part of Southgate that takes a much slimmer number of homes, but still probably has 100 or 200 of our Allen Park students in their district. So Allen Park's kind of unique with 3 public school districts and 2 large private parochial schools, being the Intercity Baptist and St. Francis Cabrini. So we have a lot of schools for our children to go to, which I think is a good thing. Thank Superintendent, thank the students for coming tonight. That was very kind and nice presentation. I look forward to a number of us being able to attend that night. I'll go to organizational business, which is mine, and I'll ask for the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Cady, Mr. Smith, our bond counsel, Mr. Leffler, our bond advisor for, I think it's R.W. Baird, do I have the right middle initial? Company, and Mr. Smith with Dykema Gossett, very prominent and established law firm. And they're going to take us through these 4 different bond proposals. The first one to put before the board is a resolution to authorize the call and refinancing of the 2003 A and B bonds. So I'd like a motion by council to put that before us.
Motion.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has moved. Councilwoman Gavrecki has supported. And for council, mayor, and citizens, Bob, if you'd go forward.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, the 2003 A and B bonds are the ones that were issued for the community center when they expanded that and did the ice arena and the gym and all those things. The 3 bonds, though, altogether that we're asking you to approve for the refinance are the 2003 A and B bonds, the 2010 limited tax liability bonds, which were the last bonds issued for the studio, and as you remember, we used a portion of that for building this building, about $2.2 million of it. And then the last ones are the 2007 Brownfield bonds. The Brownfield met last week and approved their portion of this, so it falls to you to approve what they've done so that we can take these 3 bonds. They have the highest interest rates and can provide over $100,000, maybe even more. It depends on whatever rating we end up with, which we're going as a joint path along with this to get this done by the end of our fiscal year. If we get a rating of A or better, actually we'll achieve what we hope to. And like I said, if it's better than that, I hope we end up somewhere around a AA, but you know, I'm always a little bit more hopeful than most, but then it would be greater. Yeah, our goal is to get this done by the end of the fiscal year. It's a pretty aggressive schedule because we've got this going on, we've got the budget going on, we've got the Standard & Poor's review, which will start in earnest once we get this going. So really at this time what we're asking for is for you to approve the attached resolutions and authorize the call and refinancing of those 3 bond issues. As Jared Smith and Brian Leffler are here from Baird. If there's any other questions on these, I know they answer some of your questions in the back, but if there's anything else, please feel free.
I would just, Mr. Leffler, I think the work was probably yours on these 3, and I know it is because you've got your company's name at the bottom. But on the A and B bonds, maybe you could just tell us what we're estimating the savings if we're at an A rating, I think, is what these are.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. The 2003 bonds, the thought there would be approximately refinancing about $4 million of bonds, that the nominal savings between now and 2034 would be about $570,000. That's, again, as Mr. Cady mentioned, we assumed an A rating. We're going to be in that process here with the review of S&P. Those savings translate into about 11% of savings over the bonds that you're taking out. If you recall, recently you adopted a debt policy that made sure that you had a certain level of savings of around 3%. You're almost 3 times, you're more than 3 times that. So you're essentially, you're meeting your own policy as well. So that's a good sign on the 2003 transaction.
Okay, and there is a limitation here that we cannot borrow more than the $5,500,000.
Yeah, in the authorizing resolution, it talks about an amount not to exceed. We just put in an amount something greater. We assume when we run numbers for your savings is that when the money is put into an escrow for 30 days, we assume it's going to earn something. Worst case scenario, we assume it earns 0. So not saying that we're going to go from 4 million to 5.5. We just give everybody some cushion so we have to come back to this council. The only amount of bonds that will be issued is what is necessary to refinance those bonds, pay the cost of issuance, and then also by statutory, unless you get a waiver from the state treasurer's office, you have to provide present value savings net of all your cost of issuance. So that's something that we will be monitoring.
Okay. Anybody at council have other, I guess the clerk and I may have a couple questions. Mr. Smith, if you want to come forward. Sure. You're asking for signatures. Are you, if this passes tonight, are you expecting us to stay with you? No, you're going to go home, so you're going to send it to us. Yeah. You've answered my question. You're leaving, so you won't be here at the end of this meeting. So I don't.
Happy to wait, but yeah, no, that's we'll fill in the blanks, dates, confirmation that this passed, who made various motions, and we'll send finals over for signatures and certifications. Jared Smith, Dyke Magasset. I'm actually out of our Lansing office. We also have offices in Bloomfield Hills as well as Detroit. So we have a pretty good bond finance team. We're talking right now specifically about we mentioned this earlier, your unlimited tax obligation bonds from 2003. And so this resolution authorizes that refunding in a not to exceed amount of $5.5 million. This resolution, you'll say, okay, well, it's pretty thick. It approves a form of a bond so that you have some structure around how that's going to look. It authorizes various actions like Brian's alluded to, any filings with the Department of Treasury, getting an escrow fund set up, selecting an escrow trustee, purchasing those securities to hold until those bonds can be redeemed that are outstanding. It also authorizes the issuance of the new bonds to pay those off, among other things. It authorizes the various potential types of sale, whether that's through a bid, a negotiation with an underwriter, or direct placement with a private purchaser, an investor. We'll come back with, working with Bob and Brian, when those bonds are sold, with listing of the exact details of that sale. It's called a sale order, and that will be signed by the authorized officers that are appointed under this resolution. Right now, that would be the city's clerk and the mayor, working with the financial officer as well as the financial advisor. So we would be acting as your bond counsel toward that endeavor on your behalf. The good news is another resolution I have to present is very similar. It's just authorizing the refunding of a different series of bonds, so we don't have to hear this any more than you prefer this evening. Yeah, exactly. So I try to finish before I see anyone's eyes get sleepy, and so far that hasn't happened. So it also authorizes, Act 34 requires your debt retirement fund for these bonds. Of course, we'll set up the various funds that are necessary to hold revenue and then to pay bonds. These are all the bonds that we're talking about tonight are already callable or will be callable in the coming months at just par plus accrued interest. No premium that will be paid for these bonds. If I've hit any questions, otherwise I think we can stop there.
Just
Councilman.
as I see here, there's $9,390,000 plus bonds we're going to call in. Is that correct?
So you're raising a good question. You are looking at a resolution authorizing the defeasance of your outstanding 2009 A and B bonds.
Yeah,
it's a different resolution. That one is going to be, that resolution would authorize money already on hand with the city to be used to go out and call those bonds and pay them off. So I should clarify, we have 4 resolutions before you this evening.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
This one's coming up later?
Yes.
Yes,
I
it'll be item 2. That's the one I moved
Item
forward.
2?
I apologize for that. I should have led off with, we have 2 resolutions authorizing the issuance of bonds to refund other bonds. We have a resolution authorizing the defeasance of bonds you have outstanding. The good news is you have the funds to pay those already. And then we have a 4th resolution that would authorize your support of the refunding of 2007 Brownfield Authority bonds. The Brownfield Authority met last week and authorized that refunding deal. Allen Park already has pledged its full faith and credit in favor of those 2007 bonds. The request from the authority, what they made last week, is that you pledge that same security in favor of these refunding bonds. Now I've essentially summarized all four. If there are more questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, we could possibly entertain the first resolution, the 2003 UTGO refunding.
I have one curiosity, because it goes through and lists a lot of the disclosures that the city's responsible to make, and it sort of looks like disclosures that we make on Emma. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
And it is not necessarily the SCC order that stands over our head?
That's correct. This is a more traditional, standard, continuing disclosure agreement that you would, if required, if you go out with a public sale over an amount of $1 million, you would enter into this agreement just to provide your normal annual information onto Emma. Okay. Any issuer would enter into this agreement.
Okay. But that probably would satisfy that SEC order, or that hasn't been given to you yet?
That's correct. Well, that hasn't been fully, yeah, we would want to confirm that as well. But yes, I've seen the order, but yeah.
Through the chair, are you referring to the order or that class you and I had to take?
Well, that was a result of the order, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, because there were some stipulations in the future of bond. Okay, I thought that had been done, but,
But I think it's ongoing.
Right,
okay.
Right, it's outstanding.
Thank you, Mayor.
If there are no other questions by council, I would ask that the clerk take the roll call vote to authorize the call of the 2003 A and B bonds and refinancing them with the new bond issue.
All right, I have a motion by Councilwoman McLeod, supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki, and we will start in alphabetical order for the refinancing, the call and the refinancing of the 2003 A and B bonds. Councilman DiGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
And Councilman Templin.
Yes.
With Councilman Cisco excused. The yeses have it unanimously.
Thank you. We'll go next to the 2010 limited tax bonds. The resolution of the City Council to authorize the issuance not to exceed $3 million of refunding bonds in order to refund those bonds that, am I correct, were issued in 2002?
So, yeah, I wanted to add that clarification, 2002 as well as 2010. So these are two series of limited tax bonds that are outstanding, that are both subject to being called, that if we can get the savings, it would be advantageous for the city to refund.
Right now, in the materials that you have, we only show the savings associated with the 2010, which is about another $450,000 over between now and 2034, which is about 15%. The 2002 just break even. There's no benefit, but I don't know what's going to happen between now and the time of the sale. I think if there's any benefit to kind of just what if, rather than coming back to the council at the last minute, might as well get the authorization. Our intent is not to do it at this time, but I'd rather have the authorization so we can capture something if there's some economies of scale here.
Okay. Need a motion to put this resolution.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DiGiulio had moved, and Councilman Templin has supported. And I'll take further questions of the gentleman from the council.
Am I at the right time now?
You are, Councilman DiGiulio.
Perfect. Okay, now, we're gonna turn in this $9,390,000, correct?
So you're still one ahead of me, sir. I apologize for that.
I'm
So,
still ahead of you.
Yeah,
yes.
we're now at 1B rather than 2. We've got actually 3 and 1, and then 2.
Okay, tell me when I'm up.
Wait, which bonds were those for then, for the record?
The defeasance is for the 2009.
We're at 2002 and 2010, so,
This is awesome, yeah. Knocking a lot of them down at one time.
that's why we put 3 of these people up here in front of us, because
You
It
you
is-
combined them all in one resolution, which is one, right? The three, because the clerk's looking.
we're gonna have them separate because
I don't
We're
there's
even
a.
voting
see
on them
those
separate, but
bonds
they're
on
in
here.
what, the
Yeah,
first
they're in one,
resolution.
they're
Three-
in one item,
Three
yes.
different ones are in that
But
first resolution.
I think that's because certain requirements on some of these bonds to go to the state because of the unqualified nature of Allen Park at this point.
A good point, as well as the first resolution, this gives me an opportunity. The first resolution for the 2003 bonds had an unlimited tax pledge of the city. Those were issued pursuant to voter approval at the time, meaning the city was authorized to levy a debt specific, or a millage specifically to pay these bonds. So we could not combine the limited tax, which still pledges the city's budget and credit in favor of the bonds, but it's not subject to voter approval, so we couldn't combine the two. So we treated your unlimited tax, that's the refunding of the 2003 bonds, that's the first resolution. We treated that separately. Now we're in a limited tax resolution for the refunding of the 2002s and the 2010s.
And if they had to be supported by additional long-term funding, we would have to go to the voter to achieve that.
That's right. Anything beyond what you would normally just appropriate out of your own budget.
Right. Are there any other questions on these 2 bond issues? 2002, we may do nothing with just because it may not make any sense if we look at the cost versus how little is left, because I think there's only about $50,000 in interest.
Yeah, there's only about 3 years left on these bonds.
Yeah. If there are no other questions, I will ask for a roll call vote here, please.
Okay, I have a motion by DeJulio, supported by Templin. Again, these are the 2010 limited, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and 2002, but it's not, okay.
Yes.
All right, so we'll start in the next successive alphabetical order. Councilman Gavareki.
Yes.
Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke. Yes. Councilman Templin.
Yes.
And Councilman DeJulio.
Yes.
With Councilman Cisco excused. It is unanimous, the yes have it.
Thank you. We're now at the 2007 Brownfield, and that was approved by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority last week. And you'll see here is a request from them for us to pledge the full faith and credit of the city to refinance these. And these have the full faith and credit as it presently stands. So we're not increasing the liability of the city, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you can have a motion to put this, motion by
Support.
Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilwoman Gavareki, to authorize the city to pledge its full faith and credit. Any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, then I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this one also.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman Gavareki, and this is for the 2007 Brownfield, correct?
Correct.
Finding that out. Okay, next order, Mayor Matagas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod. Yes. Councilman Rourke. Yes. Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DeJulio.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Gavareki.
Yes.
With Harry Cisco excused. The yeses have it. It is unanimous.
Thank you. We're now at the famous item 2, the series 2009 A and B.
That's
All
Angela.
right, Councilman, you're up. No,
We have to have a motion to put this before the,
Support.
Motion. The motion is by the Mayor Pro Tem McLeod, and then supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki and Mr. DiGiulio. I know you wanted to ask questions.
Gee, I've been chomping the gums for this. Where does that $9,390,000 we're gonna call these bonds in? Where's that money come from?
So as you remember, when we sold the movie studio, our former movie studio, we sold it on a land contract. The emergency manager did. I shouldn't say you did. The emergency manager sold it on a land contract for $12 million. That money went into a fund called the SLP fund, and we used it for paying off the bonds or paying as they came due and the interest on them. And then in 2000, the end of, was it 2017, Mayor, or beginning of 2018, they paid off the land contract?
17.
Yeah. Time Equities paid off the land contract, so they had the building free and clear. And at that time, if you remember, when we were doing budget, I came to council and said, it would behoove us to put this money aside along with the other savings we have, and when these bonds are callable in May of 2019, if we can pay them off and accumulate the funds to do that, we'll save the residents a substantial amount of money in future interest payments. Paying them off, I think they go to 2039. It's almost $9 million in interest we basically avoid paying by paying these bonds off. And it makes sense because if you put the money in the bank, you're going to earn maybe 2.5% at the most, and these bonds we're paying out at over 7.5%. So paying them off is the right thing to do, and removing them from our budget, which is now coming from the general fund. So at this time, we're asking you to approve the refunding. In other words, taking all that cash that we've accumulated by the sale of that property and paying off the remaining 2009 A and B bonds. And remember, these are the bonds that when we did the call, when the emergency manager was here, or the unsolicited call to try to get them back, these are the people that decided, hey, I'm going to take a chance on the city. I'm not going to sell those bonds back to the city because these bonds are out there at over 7.5%. And as you remember, we were able to refinance about $16.75 million in the new 2015 B bonds, but the remaining $9 million is the old bonds from the original movie studio issue out there at 7.5% that people would not turn in. Well, now in May of this year, those bonds are callable, and we can force them to turn them in basically, and take their money at par and get out of those bonds. So that's what we're recommending you do at this time.
So once we do that now, once we call them in, we'll still owe about $17 million on that property that we don't own, right?
Yeah, $16.75 million is what was refinanced when we did the tender and had to refinance, and we did that, I believe, through Bank of America. And that's really what's left from the whole movie studio thing is about $16.75 million that we've got to pay for through 2043. So, and you know, an opportunity may present itself in a few years to even look at those and do something with them. Hopefully we'll keep working on that and come back with a recommendation on those in some time from now.
So nothing stands behind that 17 million, is that correct?
Nothing.
And is there any collateral on that or no?
The city's full faith and credit.
That's all, just everybody's house, right?
Unfortunately. It's funny if you look at it because if you take the $16.75 million that we were able to call and refinance and the $9 million we're about to pay off, that adds up to about what we paid for the whole movie studio. So, you know, we were able to get rid of some of it, but that's what we're left with, the 16.75 from the 2015 issue.
Thank you, Mr. Cady.
Any other questions? I guess the only aside I would say in selling this, when we refinance the 16.750, we really are paying interest only on those bonds until 2022.
I think so.
So it really behooves us to get this debt off the books, because if you look, those principal payments come on stream, and that debt is going to start, the payback will start increasing at that period of time. So this will be most helpful to us if we can get this down and help the city in the future and that mayor and council meet those obligations that they're going to have on the other portion of this. It's unfortunate. I always call it the Southfield lease property, Mr. Cady. It's less painful for me.
I had a similar problem when I worked for the city of Riverview, Mayor. I forgot it was a land preserve, and I kept calling it Mount Trashmore. So
We all called it that.
But it is still an obligation of the city that will be with us a long time, and makes all of us that sit up here very aware of how careful we want to be with the disbursements of whether it's our annual budget, but in terms of trying to have a good capital plan and have a good savings plan where we can reduce the debt so that it isn't so burdensome on the future households in our city. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote on this, please.
All right, through the chair, this is on the 2009 A and B, what's the word we use? Defeasance and redemption? All right, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod, supported by DeGiulio. Alphabetical in succession.
Point of order.
No.
Was supported by myself.
By
Aye.
Gavareki.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Motion by McLeod, supported by Gavareki. And in a roll call vote, we'll start with Councilwoman McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavareki.
Yes.
And Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
And with Councilman Cisco excused. The yeses have it. It is unanimous.
I want to thank all of you for walking us through these things and making it as painless as possible.
We're happy when we're bored.
Hope you have a good evening and
Thank
drive
you.
safely back to your respective homes. The last item I have is an appointment to the DDA with a term to expire 12/31/2022. The appointee is Justin Ford, who's lived in the city with his family for about 7 years, had this business going for about 3 years. It's in the what we call the North Junior High building. And I had quite a lengthy talk with him, and I think he'll be a good addition as a business representative on the DDA, and ask the council to appoint him. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer
What
them.
is his business, Mayor?
He has a real estate management business.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify.
point of
Oh,
order.
I need a motion to put it before you, don't I?
Yep. A motion.
Councilman Gavareki has moved, supported by Councilman Rourke. Excuse me for putting the cart before the horse. There is no discussion on that. I would ask for the vote of the council. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. And we're now at the city administrator's part of the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents of Allen Park. Just a few items on the, for the housekeeping report. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, will be hosting a public open house meeting on Wednesday, February 27th, that is tomorrow, from 5 to 7 at the Wayne County Community College downtown Detroit campus. This will be an opportunity for residents to review the preliminary flood insurance study, they call that the FIS, and the preliminary flood insurance rate maps, also referred to as FIRMs. A preliminary review of the documents by the city staff did not show any change for Allen Park. However, residents are encouraged to review the documents themselves. I know I did post it up on the Facebook page with the link, and for any questions on any changes for that issue. And the press release with the location. It's going to be the Wayne County Community College Frank Hayden Room, and that is at the 1001 West 4th Street location, right by the old downtown Detroit post office. The second item, the Parks and Recreation Department and myself will be hosting a public meeting here on Monday, March 4th at 6 o'clock to discuss the proposed total renovation of Humpty Dumpty Park. That is at the corner of Lawrence and Arlington, and it will be to create an ADA compliant and barrier-free playground. That is going to be an item coming up here on the next item on the agenda for a public hearing on block grant, but there will be a public meeting scheduled for that Monday, March 4th. That is not a council meeting. It is just a public meeting to get that information. If there's any concerns, then we'll be able to bring them back to mayor and council as the bid award comes in a couple days later for that project. And then finally, the Finance Department continues to work with the departments on the 2019-2020 budget. At the next council meeting, I'll be requesting mayor and council to schedule a budget work session. I put it down here tentatively for Tuesday, April 16th, and the proposed budget public hearing for Tuesday, April 23rd. And then we'll come back in the first meeting in May for formal approval of the budget. At that point in time, request a formal approval at that point in time.
Heard the report, ask for a motion to put the updates and reports and documents before the council for review and acceptance.
Motion.
Councilman Templin.
Support.
Councilman DeGiulio has supported. Are there any questions or comments? You know, the only thing I would say to the residents on this FEMA thing, many of us, particularly those that live in the northern Allen Park off of Outer Drive, which we would call Kennedy Sub, or what's the other name?
Princeton Estates.
Princeton Estates. That about a year and a half ago, the Corps of Engineers came with a big plan, and they didn't see Allen Park as a non-floodplain, so it's very interesting that there are two departments of the federal government. Shouldn't surprise us, I guess, as we watch TV, but nevertheless, they seem to have different ideas. And so if you can go to this meeting of FEMA, I think it would be helpful. I'm certainly going to try and go because it seems to cut across everything that the Corps of Engineers thought they were doing, and they haven't done anything since about February of 2018. They're not 18, 17. So it's been sitting dormant, but it still doesn't mean that they won't decide to go a different way than FEMA, and I think we ought to just be prepared to get them to look at the FEMA study. So if there are no other comments, I would ask for the vote on this file and update in the reports. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The CDG is for a public hearing to transfer community development block grant program income funds. And City Administrator and Mike, is that sufficient to identify the transfer of funds, or do you need to have that? It's the street and sidewalk improvement allocation, $77,000, and all the 2018 administrative allocation of $13,000 to the Humpty Dumpty Park for an ADA compliant barrier free. So I guess that's what the public hearing is about. And I need a motion of council to open this for public comment.
Motion.
Support.
Councilman Rourke has moved, and Councilwoman Gawarecki has supported. So we're now open for a public hearing. Is there anybody that'd like to come forward and comment on this particular item?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Raymond Gusson-Quant. Can you clear up one matter? It's all over Facebook. People are using, as you know, they use Facebook as a communication. Sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's not the right news. When it comes to the street and sidewalk improvement allocation, it's been noted on Facebook that people are wondering why is money that is supposed to be allocated for road repair is being used into a park? Can you just clear that up for the public? Question.
Yeah, I want to make sure you're finished before I.
The question.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep. Yeah, these funds are not part of the voter-approved street improvement millage. These are community development block grant funds. They are required to be used in a certain area that qualifies as a low to moderate income district. We have 2 districts in the city. Basically, the area bounded by Moran to Ford Line to Old Goddard. It does take in the water sewage or water treatment plant and the city's basin, but obviously there's no houses there. The second area is the city of Allen Park, Lincoln Park border to on the east, Keppen on the north, Lawrence on the west, down to Hanover and back to Roger, again for the west, and Southfield Road on the south. So basically the area of the old Farmer Jack's and the residential area up to Arby's, and then north from that point up to Keppen Avenue. So those are the only 2 areas that can be used. And so the reason to bring this issue forth now is we've been talking about this internally with Recreation, myself, Pat Hawkins, myself, and the allocation has typically been around $95,000. We've moved administration in to help with the roads in the past to give somewhere around $108,000, $110,000. Still not enough to do the full project that Pat is looking to do because of the cost of the ADA compliance. The surface is a lot more money than just putting down specialized wood chips. So we felt that this was an opportunity to do this project, especially given the fact that the county is changing the program. Wayne County be changing the program to an RFP type program with a $20,000 allocation as opposed to a $136,000 allocation. And so this is going to be like the one last shot to be able to do this park. We felt that this will be more of a long-term benefit to the neighborhood than the streets. Although don't get me wrong, I know streets are in bad shape. I get that part. But this was a one-time shot here. I know working with Tom from DPS, we're trying to get some additional money up into the north area, north of Southfield as well, as we try to make sure we spread the community dollars throughout the entire area, and Pat is doing the same with the park dollars. This is actually going to be used to leverage additional dollars from the Wayne County park and park millage money that was voted upon many years ago, and we receive a small allocation on that. Hopefully, a bigger allocation, Commissioner Baydoun, as much as we can get. So we're going to leverage those dollars with these dollars, and then also seek some donations to make this park a really nice park. That park is the Humpty Dumpty, corner of Lawrence and Arlington. It has seen its better days. It's like a lot of the parks, when you don't do a lot of work in the parks for the time when the emergency manager was here and before, that you have to pay the piper, and the equipment has to be replaced, and this is an opportunity to be able to do it and not use direct taxpayer dollars. These are federal dollars coming back to the community.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'd be more than willing to donate my time again as a community built too.
I think Pat was looking into that for some aspects.
Yeah,
as
thank
well.
you very much.
Any other citizens that want to comment? Well, I will close the public hearing, and we will move to the CDBG program income funds. I think you wanted a resolution to approve those transfers.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know what I was thinking, because they're not program income funds. They're program year 2018 funds. I must have been thinking something else at the time I was writing the memo. So I do need a resolution to approve the transfer that was proposed in the public hearing, and that would be to move CDBG program year 2018 street and sidewalk improvement allocation of $77,000, and all of the program year 2008 administration allocation, $13,000, to a new program year 2018 activity, playground, park playground equipment for $90,000 for the purpose of creating an ADA compliant and barrier-free playground at Humpty Dumpty Park. And then I'll also need to post the final statement of objectives. There was a question, I know Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem McLeod had a question, why are we talking about $18? We're here in 19. The program year $18 become available July 1st of that year, and we have 18 months to spend them. So these were allocated back in July 1st of 18. By the time we actually got formal approval to use them, it wasn't until December of 18, and that just goes through, there's a lot of processes through HUD, Wayne County, and then the current administration moving some money around with the shutdown, and the government shutdown played a role in it as well. So, but this project, once this is approved, will be set to go in the spring. I think we're opening bids on the project in a week and a half, and we'll be back at the 12th council meeting of March to award the bid. So I do need a resolution to approve the transfer.
A motion for Mayor McLeod is moved.
Support.
Councilman Templin has supported. Before I take questions, there won't be 12 meetings in March that I'm aware of.
No,
so it's the March 12th meeting, I hope.
Yeah,
okay.
Not the 12th meeting.
Any questions on this? I think the public hearing explained pretty much what we're trying to do there, and I think it continues the council's real support of our parks. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on our parks for 8 straight years, and we're hoping the county will review those allocations. You've probably heard from our Parks Rec director. And so, in any event, if no other questions, I'll take the vote on this issue. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
If I may jump in real quick, I do
Carried.
apologize. I've been doing this for 20 years, and had I known all I needed to do was post something on Facebook to get comments, because we never, ever get comments. I've been to 5 different cities. I never get anybody to come up to the podium to speak. All I had to do was put something on Facebook, and I got like 28 to 50 comments in a matter of minutes. So maybe that's the new, social media obviously is the new way to get information out, so.
Okay. We'll move to the claims and accounts, which was separated out of the consent.
Point of order.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Public
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry. We had a public hearing, and I thought I was by that. We're going to come to public comments.
It's way down on the list tonight.
Public comments.
I understand.
And, thank you, Councilwoman Gavricki. You're asked to come forward and express your opinions, ask your questions, but please observe the rules of decorum, which are on the back of our agenda. So with that, we're open for public comments, and please come forward.
Okay, let's go.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ray McGusson Quant. I'd like to go through the chair, and maybe we can get some clarification about a couple of things. We are retiring bonds, which is a good thing. We are redoing some bonds, which is a great thing. We're saving a lot of money, which is a wonderful thing for us taxpayers. The next question is, what are we doing with all that money that we're saving? Is it going to be used to go ahead and retire some more bonds, to pay down some of our debt, or what are we going to do with it? It sounds to me like it's a large amount of money. That one bond is, how much are we saving, Mayor? Question.
Be about $450,000 of interest a year for 20 years.
Okay. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with that money? Are we going to go ahead and just use it to go ahead and retire down some more debt so we can save some more money? Or when we redid these bonds, did we also cut the years down like we would do when we refinanced our houses? And you still pay the same amount, and that way you can pay it off faster? I would like maybe an answer on that.
Well, I can ask her on the one bond. It will shorten the payout periods, and that is the Brownfield refinancing bond. And that will shorten the pay period, it will accelerate the payments, and it will also accelerate the payments on another obligation, because there were two parties that we owed there. We have the bonds now that took out the first party, Arcan, but the remaining person was Ford, who sold part of their interest to Meyer. So Ford and Meyer are collecting on the 10 million that were owed them with 5% interest. On the others, it's going to depend on what future mayors and council decide they want to do in their budget. Our budget hearing, you heard, is coming up here with a special meeting. Forgive me, I lost the dates, but there will be a discussion, and some of these savings we hope will start to be fleshed out by then for us, and the council will have to make the decision. But there hadn't been a discussion because it's just come before the council tonight.
I would love to see some of our debt paid off before we go back into another recession. You know, it'd be a good thing. It was money that was already pledged. I don't, you know, as just as one citizen, and who am I, you know, I would love to see it start to pay down some of our debt. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Charles Blow in Champaign. Just a couple things I noticed when I was driving here. Right down my street on Allen and Champaign, there's a little kind of small pothole that's coming up, and I know that's a street that everyone uses for schools every morning. Just if we can get that filled, that'd be great. As well as when you go down the street, I noticed when you're stopped at the red light on the side where they use the doctor's office, and if you're looking at the light and it's red, and when you're going down Allen Road, there's like a different second change where it's like it's green on one side, and then people are still going through it because I think it says it's still green on the other side. So it looks like there could possibly be like if you're not paying attention, if someone's speeding and all that stuff, someone could crash right there and all that stuff. But just something to look into. I noticed for a couple weeks now. Another thing, it's great to see that there's more new businesses in the city that just opened up, and then a couple months ago with the Arby's opening up again. I encourage always citizens to like always come up here and speak, and like the city administrator said, like comment on the Allen Parker government page on Facebook and to get information out. Another thing that I noticed, since we at first we were once complaining about those garbage cans, but I think it is amazing with how wind we had that other day. You don't see trash everywhere anymore or anything like that, so it's a plus for the city, and then making the city look clean and wonderful. And it's a new year, and let's all stay positive. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am Sam Baydoun. I am the Wayne County Commissioner for Allen Park in Dearborn, and I'm honored to be here tonight. I just wanted to make a few comments, and I'm sorry I missed the meeting last month due to a prior commitment. Just want to let you know I'm really looking forward to working with you. You will have a partner in me. Even though I live in Dearborn, Allen Park is as equally as important as Dearborn. A couple of things I wanted to mention. As far as the parks money, we will be looking at that next week, and we will be getting back with you and going over the numbers. My predecessor, Mr. Warrenchuk, I'm not sure what he had promised the city of Allen Park last year. I will be discussing that with the people in the county. Just a couple things on the roads. Allen Road between Pelham and Ecorse, and Allen Road between Southfield and Outer Drive, and Roosevelt between Ecorse and Southfield, and Pelham between Goddard and Van Born. These are county-owned properties, roads that are maintained by the county. If there are any issues, I just want to remind the residents to call, if there's any potholes, any issues, to call the 1-888 road crew and just go through the system. My staff, my legislative director, Hussein Dabaja, is here. We're only one phone call away. I want to share my business cards with the clerk so you can pass them on. And again, I'm just one phone call away. I look forward to working with you, making sure that we keep the city of Allen Park moving forward. If there's anything I can do, I'm just one phone call away.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Robert Turner from north end of town. I think you answered my question. In reference to that money we owe, is it Ford Land that we owe them?
Yes.
I believe there's a balloon payment on that within a certain number of years. Now, the revenue is increasing up on the hill, isn't it?
It is, but the tax commission gave several properties up there a black store doctrine reductions, which were highly reduced the revenue that we generated, to the point where we were concerned whether we could make the bond payments and just the interest payments to Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
And although that doctrine is now being appealed to the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals having denied that as a valid way to we can't go back and increase those properties. So we're sneaking along at that. When I say sneaking, this consumer price index has moved so little that it doesn't give us a lot of movement in pricing. And in fact, this year, with the way property values have gone up in sales, because the way Prop A acts, we will be reducing our millage to citizens by 1.45 mils.
That's good.
Well, that's good for the citizens. Isn't good for us in being able to accelerate some of those payments from some of those areas where big sales have taken place, or big new improvements like the new Ford wind tunnel and battery plant.
Okay.
So
good. I'm glad Wayne County's here. We had a Parker Wright meeting last night, and I was glad to see the gentleman out here help us support us. I understand they owe us some money from previous years. So, Mark, I'm sure you'll be your regular doorbell.
Pat's got it all covered.
But I want to thank your support for the Humpty Dumpty. Well, the people of ours should be really proud of that. And people get excited on Facebook, and I would grant you at the town hall meeting, you may see 2 people there. So I tell the people, you know, if you got something to say, you know, get on Facebook, come to a meeting, tell us about it. But you know, it's I'm saying 2 people will be there. I hope it's more, but we'll see.
We'll be here ready for him to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
I see no one else coming forward. I'm going to close the public comment period at this time and move to claims and accounts. And I'll ask that claims and accounts be put before the council for discussion.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio has moved. Do I have a support?
Support.
Councilman Templin is supported. Councilman DeGiulio?
Over here under administration, labor attorney, Seacrest, Wardle and Lynch, $19,300+. Is that the Russ Pillar and Dale Covert lawsuit?
Yeah, Councilman, that'll be for the Dale Covert lawsuit, the retiree Dale Covert versus the City of Allen Park.
What's going on with the Russ Pillar loss? Is that settled?
No, it's still on hold right now. We're waiting to hear back from the state Supreme Court, and once they issue their decision on another couple cases, that'll have a bearing on this case as well. So at this point in time, it's just kind of in a holding pattern. But they continue to move forward as with the covert cases. That is still in the early process and getting prepared for the next steps on that.
Can you give us an approximate or close to approximate how much money we have in this lawsuit?
I think combined, we're probably at $550,000 now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or discussion by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote on the claims and accounts. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. Consent agenda has two items, our payroll report, and then a solicitation by the Knights of Columbus for the annual Tootsie Roll Drive, April 12th, 13th, or 14th. If rain makes that impossible, it would be the following week. Could I have a motion for those two items, please? Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has moved. Councilman Rourke has supported. Is there any discussion on those items? Hearing none, then I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That is carried.
Through the chair, that was McLeod and Rourke.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are at the resolution to approve the City of Allen Park's Development District liquor license policy. Could I have a motion to put that before the council?
Motion.
Councilwoman Gavarecki has moved, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Would the city administrator want to explain this to the public as?
I would think that legal affairs worked on it, so I think Joe might be best to.
Okay. Joe?
Tina, I thought you were going to say we're legal affairs and you're going to do it, so.
I'll let you take your spin on it.
Yeah, good evening. There is a process wherein a business owner can purchase a liquor license, and it's a program to encourage new businesses or existing businesses to invest money into their property, and also to encourage restaurants. So the Legal Affairs Committee has developed a policy which would be used in the event a business owner approached the DDA as well as the city desiring to purchase one of these DDA authorized liquor licenses. So Legal Affairs and Council is being proactive to have this policy in place in the event that ever occurs. Some of the aspects of that new license is a business owner needs to have invested $75,000 within the last 5 years, or must spend that much money in improvements prior to the issuance of the license. So it is a good redevelopment tool.
Any other further comments by council?
I just have one, and I'm sure it will be. I just want to make sure that this is shared with the DDA going forward, as they may be the ones bringing them to council. So I'm sure you would, but I just want to ensure that.
Question, Mayor.
Yes.
What do they, what is the charge to the business owner for these licenses?
It is a state mandated fee. It's $20,000.
Thank you, Mr.
And they can only use it at that property site. So other liquor licenses are generally transferable. These liquor licenses, they cost less, but they have I guess the downside, you can't transfer them off the site.
Thank you.
And there is actually a requirement that they show that they cannot find a liquor license that's out there for less than the $20,000. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So it's only in that situation where the prices have become that extreme.
Yeah.
Any other discussion by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that is carried. Motion for an outdoor storage permit for Great Lake Hardware and parking lot, 6 spaces for soil. And they're our next door neighbor. Motion, please.
Motion.
Councilman Templin has moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has supported. Discussion by council.
I did put their drawing was the hand sketch, and then I did an overhead just so you can kind of see the outline of the area. They're almost directly in front of the store, in that parking road directly in front of the store.
So I guess I do have a question. I forgot to ask in the work session, sorry. Just to make sure, there's not going to be any tent constructed over those 6 spaces?
No tent. They're just looking to put the topsoil out there as they did last year. They did the tent a couple years earlier. They did flowers and so forth, flats of flowers. Apparently that is a loss for them, and I don't think management of that store was particularly fond of that idea anyways. So they'll have their hanging baskets up close to the store, but nothing in the what they were using before is like a greenhouse type deal.
Thank you.
Is the soil going to be in 25-pound bags in that, or are we talking about it loose?
No, it'll be bag material.
Any other questions by council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just one, and perhaps this is more directed at the attorney. I notice in Mr. Kibbe's memo that he references that for section 52872, it's not permitted in this particular district, but we have done this for the last 3 seasons as a temporary use. I'm assuming because it's temporary, this does not pose any issues.
You as council have a prerogative to consider that, whether or not you want to allow that as temporary use.
Thank you.
Any other discussion by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. And really now, one of our favorite ordinances that all the cities like during the holidays, as well as the mayor and council. I'm going to ask for a motion for a first and second reading, proposed ordinance on fireworks, and repeal and readopt sections 18.61 to omit permitted days and hours consistent with state law. Motion, please.
Motion.
Support.
Councilman Gavarecki has moved. Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has supported. Would the city attorney like to read the first and second reading for us, please?
Yes. Proposed ordinance 03-2019, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 18, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 3, Fireworks, by the repeal and readoption of Section 18-61 to amend permitted days and hours to be consistent with state law. Second reading of proposed ordinance 03-2019, an ordinance of City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 18, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 3, Fireworks, by the repeal and readoption of Section 1861 to amend permitted days and hours to be consistent with state law.
I don't think, may I ask the clerk, there's no need for us to vote on that because we just had the first and second reading, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we'll move to the last item, which is a third reading and public hearings to amend the administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 14. So We have a third reading and public hearing, and I'd ask that a motion to put a third reading and public hearing before the body. Motion. Councilman Rourke has moved. Do I have a support? Support. Councilman Templin is supported. Could I ask the city attorney to do the third reading, please?
Ordinance 01-2019, an ordinance of City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 5 Boards, Commissions, Committees and Authorities, Division 14, Parks and Recreation Commission, by the repeal of Sections 2-652, Appointment of Director, and 2-653, Recommendation of Additional Personnel, and by the repeal and readoption of Sections 2-650, Removal of Members, and 2-654, Finance, to update the division. And then I think we're going to do a public hearing.
Yes.
Right.
So we'll open it now for public hearing from anyone in the audience that wants to come forward and comment. I would just say for everyone that administration has tried to go through, as you have all these mayors and councils coming for Allen Park. I guess we're 73 and 17, 90 years plus now. We get different ordinances and whatnot, and sometimes they come into conflict with each other, which creates a real problem on commissions as to what do they want to look at, because oftentimes a later ordinance doesn't say it overruled the prior ordinance. They may not even know that that issue was there, or maybe the issue was in bylaws adopted by a commission or authority. So we're trying to make these things more consistent, easier for our commissions to deal with in their service to the communities, because they are volunteers and we need to give them all the help we can. Anybody wish to come forward and comment on this? Don't see it, so we'll move along and close that and ask for a vote of the.
Oh, I got to do one more reading and.
On the.
I guess, do we need to vote to close the public hearing, Mike?
Not to close it, but I would just take a vote to finish that item.
Well, we need and then we need a vote for the final reading, right?
Yeah.
And adoption.
You know what, I'll do the final reading, because I've got to do my spiel about shall this ordinance pass, and then roll call.
Sounds good.
So if we want to finish up the third and public hearing.
Oh, yeah. You're right on the top. That's good. That helps.
I think item 3 is the final reading, Mike.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so he's got a pretty good spiel there.
Yeah, I do ask that we close out too with just a consensus vote of the council.
I'll ask for the vote then on item 2 by Councilman Rourke and Templin for that third reading and public hearing for those changes to the committees and authorities. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we then want to take a motion for the final reading and adoption, or do you want to put the final reading and adoption before us?
No, we could do the motion and support, and right after that, I'll take it over, Mayor.
Okay. Then I'll take a motion for the final reading and adoption, and it will be a roll call vote upon completion of this.
Motion.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has
Support, Mayor.
Councilman DiGiulio has supported. Mr. Clerk?
All right. I have a motion by Councilwoman McLeod, supported by Councilman DiGiulio, for a final reading and adoption of Ordinance 01-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 14, Parks and Recreation Commission, by the repeal of Section 2-652, appointment of director, and 2-653, recommendation of additional personnel, and by the repeal and adoption of Section 2-650, removal of members, and 2-654, finance, to update the division. Shall this ordinance pass? And we'll be going in, again, succession of alphabetical. Ms. McLeod, you led the last one. So shall this ordinance pass? Councilman Rourke? Yes. Councilman Templin?
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki?
Yes.
Mayor Matakas?
Yes.
Councilwoman McLeod?
Yes.
The yeses have it. This ordinance shall be published in the manner prescribed by law.
And we will show Mr. Cisco absent, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll move to item 4, third reading and public hearing for the ordinance relating to administration, again, boards and commission, and this one dealing with the historical commission. I had a motion to put this before the public.
Motion.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki has moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has moved. I'll ask the city attorney to make the third reading.
Do it if you want, Joe.
Yep.
I'll earn my keep and read, you know. Ordinance 02-2019, an ordinance of City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 10, Historical Commission, by the repeal and readoption of Sections 2-542, 2-543, and 2-546 to update the division. And then public hearing.
We're now having a public hearing, so if the commission would come forward, or any other citizens. I see a commissioner coming forward.
Ray McGusson, Commissioner of the Historical Commission. First of all, I want to thank very, very much for the Legal Affairs for bringing us in, to talking to our commissioners, and Joe, and everyone, for allowing us to speak, giving us what we believe was some issues that we were going to have. You sat down with us, you listened to us, and you agreed with us, and you disagreed, but that's fine. So I want to thank you very much for bringing us in and allowing us to be involved. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to discuss the Historical Commission? And again, this is an ordinance that goes back and cleans up at least 3 different council positions to make it consistent with the belief, which I hope this council will vote to support when it comes in the next reading and adoption, but to clear up some of the real confusion that we had on that commission as to a number of things. So I'll ask for the vote on the third reading and public hearing just to have that closed. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. So a final reading and adoption of Ordinance 02-2019. Put that before the council, please.
Motion.
Support.
Mayor McLeod has moved. Councilwoman Gavarrecki has supported. And this is the corrections to the operations of the Historical Commission. Am I correct? For the Legal Affairs Committee, both of them have made the motion and supported. So any discussion that you want to have on this, either of you ladies?
No, we got all the feedback we needed when we invited the commission to our meeting, so I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions by commissioners? Hearing none, then I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Okay, I have a motion by McLeod and supported by Gavarrecki. This is for the final reading and adoption of ordinance number 2-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commission, Committees, and Authorities, Division 10, Historical Commission, by the repeal and readoption of Section 2-542, 2-543 and 2-546 to update the division. Having read the title, shall this ordinance pass? And we'll start with Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
And Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
The yeses have it. This ordinance shall be declared passed, and it will be published in a manner prescribed by law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Councilman Templin has
Support.
moved. Councilman DeGiulio has,
Let's just go home. Been a long meeting.
the motion before us. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. One nay, Councilman Rourke. We are adjourned at 7:26.